Okay, good afternoon, traders. I hope we're all doing well today. It's a beautiful day down here, actually. Now, welcome to TradeSetup and the live stream for the 13th. So we're just kicking off Easter anytime soon, I'd say. Most people, I guess, are going away for Easter. If not, I think it's time to sit back and relax. So it won't be a big stream today. I think the market's getting a bit belted, but it was expected on the open. So we'll talk about a bit about that. We'll just go over, obviously, what's happened in the US and the change of tune, I'd say, with respect to Trump. G'day, Nathan. How are you, mate? As you can see in the chat, I'm already getting a bit of stick from Davin. I think he's in holiday mode already. So we'll go through that. What potentially could be playing in the US. What we'll look at also, we're just going to go through. Take a look at the ASX and just a bit of a view on that, and also we're going to go through a few shares. We've only got we've got the ASX, FMG, and Telstra, and just what we've talked about these a bit in the past. I think we've sent out alerts on them also. We'll just chat about those a bit. General market overview. Have a look at how our alerts are going at the moment, even after today, and we'll go into the usual. Any questions? Anything you want to take a look at? Just put it into chat later on. And just put the code in, or any questions you want to ask at all. It doesn't have to be pure stocks. Like I said, FX, oil, anything like that. If I can get a chart, we can discuss it. All right. So anyone that's new or is viewing this for the first time, just remember we only give general advice. So there's no specific advice or anything like that. These are all our own personal views and the way we trade and what we look at in the market. Everyone obviously looks at markets a bit differently, so just remember it's only just general advice in the stream. And also, if you're new, it'd be great if you can join us on Twitter. You can see in the top left hand corner. Follow us on Facebook, or probably most importantly, just subscribe to us on YouTube. We're coming up with a few bits and pieces as we go as well that we upload to YouTube. Some little videos, or the streams you can view on there as well. But if you subscribe to us on YouTube, also, you'll get a notification when we actually do go live from YouTube with the stream or anything at all. So if you happen to miss something, you will get notified when something's uploaded or anything like that. All right, let's rip into it now. How are we all today? Anyone actually on holidays at the moment? Or I'm going to put my pretty face on. I know you miss it. There you go. Got my best shirt. I think I've got a bit of a cowlick, by the way. Hope you can't see that. Yeah, like Dave said, I did the weekly FX alert, which I've done probably 3 out of 4 weeks. I missed last week because we're up in Queensland, getting a fair few things organised, which is all looking great. But cheeky, eh? But you throw me. What was I just saying? Oh, yeah. So the weekly, I want to try and do it on Wednesdays. Just a bit of an overview, but we just uploaded that this morning. So there's a couple of new FX pairs on there. They're not quite setting up yet, but they are in the zone and they've got the potential to really start squeezing some players out. So have a look at those. Any questions on the FX or anything like that, just send it through to support@tradesetup.com.au. And like I said, let's get into it. All right, market down. We're down 51, so it's just drifted lower. I was expecting around a 30 to 40 point open lower. It's beat my expectations a bit, which you probably would expect going into a long weekend. And not just that, it's also, one, we got a long weekend, 4 days. So it's two trading days missed there. And two is the bigger thing about the geopolitical turmoil and Russia kicking up a fuss and, stamping their feet, and the US stamping their feet back. So it's not the best of things to be holding. There's obviously going to be a few people out there that are a bit tentative and stuff, and holding something over a long weekend could be a bit, make a few people nervous. So you did expect a bit of a sell-off today, a bit of a grind higher. But the way we're sort of viewing it more than anything else on the ASX or the XJO, the 200 is more of a bit of a washout, and we need a bit of a flush people out, and then head higher again. It hasn't broken anything just as yet. Sorry, Paul, just read that there. Don't get it. Is there a setting to get notifications? I've got a feeling it's probably on your phone. Just make sure that you've got push notifications turned on your phone, because I think it's more of a phone thing. So they'll send out a notification, but if you haven't got it push turned on, because you can have it turned off and on for different apps. But just check that too. Now, so we'll take a look at the ASX. God, as you probably have noticed, and it's coming to a long weekend, my mind just stops. If I stop talking, I forget. I'll have to get on to coffee number 4, Dav. All right, so let's just take a look at. Let's kick it off with the. I just want to see if we can just probably start it here. Yeah, all right. Let's just quickly just chat about what happened over the US. What I think's moving the market at the moment. Everyone's, and since the election's been focused on the Trump rally, what's causing that rally, what's going to keep it continuing, all that sort of thing. And obviously the market, we do know a lot of people are watching it. It's getting a bit overheated, a bit overextended. So fuel to keep that moving. We're starting to run out a bit of fuel to keep that going, to keep that pushing higher. Now, what they were looking at is obviously the tax reform. That was a big thing on the agenda. Everyone wanted to see that, see how he's going to get it to grow, and give the market a bit of a kick along. Healthcare was the first thing to get through, so that put a bit of a dampener on everything, especially when it got extended, and that put a dampener on the market. You saw a bit of selling come in, and then they come out and said, okay, forget about healthcare. If they can't get that through, we're going to focus on tax reform. Then last night, they come out and Trump's reiterated that healthcare is back as the number one priority, basically, ahead of tax reform. So it's just confusing people. I think all this bouncing around, it's sort of, I guess it's irritating people. And it's not the best time when you've got these tensions going on with regards to North Korea and Russia especially. And, everyone's sort of starting to take sides on North Korea. And, we don't know where that's going to lead us. So for him to come out and say, when the markets are looking for fuel to go higher, come out and say we're going to put tax reform back on the back burner a bit until we get healthcare sorted out. That's not exactly what people want to hear, and I'm guessing that's why we've got a fair bit of selling going in last night. There's a few things lining up, obviously going into Easter, so it'll be interesting to see how obviously the market goes tonight, and then what happens back on Tuesday. So maybe more or less Tuesday night. So and just sort of see how the Russia and all that sort of situation plays out over the weekend, over the next 4 days, or it sort of goes quiet, goes on the back burner over Easter. But we'll see. But there's a few things, pressuring the market a bit, and you'd expect that. But again, for me, I don't see it as a reason to run and hide just yet on the ASX. I still view that ASX as quite good, and could be just a pure, good opportunity for people to take stuff off to take positions off the table, book some gains, and reassess it as we go. But let's take a look now at the ASX. Obviously down a fair bit today. You can see that, but we just go into the last year. I mean, that trend is still well and truly higher. You've got a nice high low built through 56.75. We discussed that in a few streams after this washout. So we had that nice little correction lower after this move higher, and really that was unabated. That move up from, was it 50.50? You got some high lows in here, so that was really just in here at 5,400. You got that extension straight up to 5,800, so a 400-point rally with really no major pullback. So that was a key level just at there. So this contraction lower, and the way we viewed it, and so remembering the MAs too, which gives you a rough. I know we've spoken about it before, and we're just speaking to Davin today. The MAs we use a lot. We use the 20 and the 50 exponential MAs just for a bit of a guide on what's happening in the market. Is it going from contraction into expansion? And you're seeing that when the MAs are moving apart, and you can see that most of the candles are above the MA, this is the 20 MA. Then you get contraction. When they come back in, it can go below. Obviously, we did just here. But you can see the MAs are still apart, the 20 and 50, 20 above the 50. And then it started accelerating. So you can see they're starting to spread out a bit. Contraction in here, and they started spreading out. So currently we're not so much spreading, but they're still looking good. So we got that little run up, key level down here at 5,400, bit of contraction back, which you'd expect. We spoke about 1/3 to 2/3. Was it 30 to 60% contraction or pullback of the run up? We found a little base in here at 5,600. That washed it out, and so as soon as we saw that washout and it finished on its highs for the day, that was a nice little sign. And then you could start to see the next few days were quite solid. Found a bit of resistance up here, pullbacks, built another high low. So all that, this move up here, especially when we got that retest and started holding that 56.75, that green candle, that was really nice. And that massive rejection down to 57, and then the next day we took off. All that's very bullish. So you got your major high lows in place, structure in place, a little bit of contraction here with some lower, a minor, very ever so minor lower high, and that got rejected again. So really, at the moment, what we're looking at, maybe we can draw it up. There's still no reason to not be in this. If you are in this market, there's really no reason just to be out at the moment by looking at the ASX. Obviously, the shares tell a different story. Look at each one individually. If they break structure, if something doesn't look good, then of course you got to get out because they could be running earlier, they could be running out of steam themselves. But generally, this market is still looking quite strong, still looking quite good. And if that's the case, and we've got a extension, one leg up, a major correction, high lows holding that projected back up, that still takes us up towards that 6,000. Well, probably through 6,000 really. It's still looking like it's going to be knocking on the door of 6,000 soon. Unless, of course, I think the key level, what we've got an eye on still, is this little level just down here. So if we start pushing down there and we build, then we'd want to be looking for something like a lower high that could be putting pressure on the market. So I think there's some key things just to keep in mind when you're trying to decide whether a leg's running out of steam or whether it's still worth getting in. I think through here, as soon as we saw this type of price action, even this price action was looking good. A bit of heat through here with a good solid down day. That was rejected straight away. So let's just draw it up. Probably make it a bit easier. So I guess what we're trying to do, I'm trying to say, is just to keep an eye on a few key things and this is what we do. No, I didn't want to do that. Just for reasons why you should short, and we'll show you some examples in a minute as well. So key levels, we've got our key levels marked up. That was ideal, especially after all this structure. You're bouncing around here, rejected that low at 56.75, and you've got a major rejection candle here. So if you dropped it down to maybe an hourly chart or a 30-minute chart, looking really good. So that break up through there, you've got a higher low in here that's just built. You can see, so going off a higher low. For any shorts, you want to be going off lower highs. For potentially going long, you want to be looking for those higher lows, and especially when you've got the MAs in your favor too, because you know that it's just a continuation trade. You're looking for continuation in that trend higher, and just following the trend as we go. For shorts, like we've got to keep an eye on now, and even there, you can see that little rejection through here that started popping up. So really, until we get down and through 58.50, if we can just draw that up, I think this market's, if that holds up and we start just building here, probably not today, we'll hold up above here today, but if we, the next few days, say, the 50, I don't know how to change this color. Sorry guys, we've got our 20 is going this way and our 50 is just down here. It's probably a touch hard to see. Let me get it up. Let me just get it up on a... it might look better on this chart. We'll see. So what would ideally, when you see something that's run, like the ASX has gone quite well, we're quite positive on it, quite bullish. Just get rid of all this. I think it looks good. I'm just going to get rid of everything. And you can see it here. Does that look, that's a bit clearer, isn't it? So you got the 20 is the blue and the 50 is the red. Come on, Dave, you're at the age where you need glasses soon, I think. I've already got them. I'm younger than you. So we can see that market is quite strong. It's looking good. So really we're trying to assess it now, thinking if you are not in the market and you really, you want to dip your toe in the market, you'd be wanting to just look for that little pullback consolidation, holding another high low, and you're looking for continuation trades. Now, that's pretty much all you're looking for is really those continuation trades. We could easily take out this level, pull back, because the key level is right down here, say at 56.73. Pull back. I'll just draw it up. Pull back and then start holding again, and the same type of price pattern, up we go. So you want to be looking for those higher lows again. Contraction lower, look for a higher low, and then you've potentially got a nice little entry on there. But that's a major continuation for this leg up. What we'd want to be looking for, if we're thinking this market's going to roll over, potentially I would expect it to break down through a key level like that, and then you're looking for that major. I haven't got my continuation one on. Then you're looking for more of a. That didn't work out. Brady, what's going on here? A major lower high. Got it. Does that make sense? So you're looking for a key level to break, and at the moment the key structure level is 56.75. We may work our way down, and if we may push down through that and then we pull back, you'd expect those MAs to be rolled over by then, or rolling over. And then we'll show you an example of that in a second. I've got something. Oh yeah, that's on ASX. I'll show you that in a minute. Where the MAs have rolled up, it's actually reacted back up, but it's broken a key level, and then you get that major lower high. So at that case, if that plays out, we would be concerned then. But at the moment, not really concerned, because we're expecting rejection of these lows somewhere, potentially just build that high low, holding some high lows and then going again. That means it would attack the most recent highs, which potentially could be right here at 56, was it 59, 56? Thereabouts, and that'll take us up, I'd expect, through 6,000. Does that make sense? So we're always trying to take notice of what's happening with high lows, lower highs, these sorts. So that's a key point to our trading. And you can see, and washouts are a key thing too. So we've got a support here, washed it out but held. Then we've got a little higher low in here. It's only minor, but it's your first little heads up, and that hasn't broken. High low in here. You got a major high low in here, and you're just trying to put it into context, and then you can see really it turns into continuation trades around here. And again, you've got this little high low in here with regards to that contraction, and this is what we've spoken about a few times. There, for me, I find them a fantastic place to trade off, purely because you've got some key structural levels. Price got rejected here, and you know that the buyers are starting to step in. You can see that, and you got confirmation with a breakout through those. So you got those higher lows, which are bringing in buyers that we've spoken about many times. It's evidence of bringing in buyers, especially here. You can see that contraction lower. It was just normally on the shares, we're looking for that pop up through, break out of that contraction lower, if that makes sense. So that price is contracting lower with lower highs. It's pushed down all the way back up, pushed down, took out the low, pushed back up. This should have continued lower if it was really negative market, but it started holding. We would ideally like to see a break up through there before we build that high low, but it's more prevalent on stocks than the actual ASX. But the key thing is to really look at and keep an eye out for is higher lows. So when you're buying and reverse for selling. So does that make sense there, guys? What we tend to look for, but we show you a couple of examples in a second where one, especially the ASX, could be setting up prime as a bit of a short. So if anyone's got it out there, sorry, you might not like what we're going to discuss. But does that make sense, what we look for? And then you put that in conjunction with key levels. So at that time, the key level was here. You got that little high low, which pressed up and through, and then you've got this major high low. After that anchor level was broken, or a serious resistance zone was broken, you can see the MA starting to come in there. The 20 had gone above the 50. We're starting to head point higher. They touched there slightly. It slightly rolled over with the MAs, but the overall structure was great. It broke through a key level, built that lower high here, and it started to hold that higher low, and then off we went. Here, MAs come back in, contracted back in. We know that's contraction. We're looking for a high low. Off we go. The same type of price action happens time and time again, and that's what we're trying to look for. And like I said, reverse for sellers. All right, I hope that makes sense, guys. But I thought it was just handy looking at this ASX chart. At the moment, the structure's up, price is up. We've got a high low in here holding at 58, what was it, 56.78 or 75 zone. That's holding the market up. Probably just contracting back in. We'll have to see how it's going. It's going to take a few days to play out just yet. But we'll see. We'll see. Now, any questions before we click it over to... So there's two on to have a look at. Let's just see where everything is at the moment. So market's still down 51. I'd expect it to hold down here. I think it's an early close. Does anyone know that for sure? I tried to find out, but generally on these longer public holidays, Easter and Christmas and New Year, we're at 2 o'clock close today. So basically an hour. Yeah, I mean, a lot of our stocks are still looking quite handy, still holding up. API's had a bit of a retraction, but we're up on that. This is a cracker, MVF. You can see that price structure. We bought it somewhere in here, 191, popped up and through, contracted back, held the high low, and then just took off. All right, so that's looking great. Let's get on to the ASX one. No questions? All right. So, that's not what I wanted either. So what we've been talking about with high lows, lower highs, so on, and what price structure is starting to build. And remember, it's nothing fancy from a technical point of view. It's not really rocket science. It's more what we're trying to look at is the it's the psychology of the market and what's happening. Generally, there's a few key setups we look for, and then obviously you're trying to think of, are we seeing evidence of sellers enter the market? Are we seeing evidence of buyers enter the market? What's happening? Are we consolidating? Are we showing where does it need to break if it is consolidating? Where does it need to break to prove to me that we're starting to, we're at an early stage of a leg up or an early stage of a leg down? So we're looking for all these key things. If you're just marking up from left to right, we tend to say that was a nice little resistance zone here. So we know that's going to get up there. It's starting to get up here, find resistance, got sold off. Tried again, sold off. But it's held a high low in here. So these sorts of things you just got to take note of. I know it started holding higher lows. It's working its way up. Minor double bottom here. And then it spiked up, got rejected off the previous high. And then had to come all the way back down. And that was pretty much in line to, these high lows in here. So you got your little support line. Okay, it's rejected off there. Okay, another good sign. Tried all the way back up, tried that resistance again. It's probably just coming from too deep a level. So if that's at this stage, before you knew what was going on here, you've got that working and you can see it all starting to work. You're starting to hold high low, so okay, this level is going to come under pressure. What would we be looking for? We want to see a nice little high low build, and really that's what we got not long after. You got a little high low starting to hold, and there's quite a few days, and you can see that it's in context of this move here, it's quite a bit higher. So if you're watching this, you could expect it to just be bouncing around there forever, bang, nice deep, until it spends a lot of time and it contracts right in. But as soon as you see, if people say, sorry, let's take one step back. If that's what they're expecting, they're going to get caught out here. If they wanted to buy it, if you're a technical trader, pretty much a technical trader anyway, but fundamentalists might be looking for a deeper correction. I'm happy to buy it down here at 39, say 39 is just down here. And then you start to get in this type of price action, holding quite a few days there. Holding up. Any sellers were getting soaked up by buyers. Don't know why. You got the MAs in the right direction. Things are still looking good. That is a nice little sign. Really early entry. Could have been with just a breakthrough there, or a break, even just out of that. Ideally just here, because you can see, if we could, you can see that minor high low. I wonder if I can just draw it. Oh, just in there. So if you can see that, that's actually, if you drill down on your chart, this is ASX, don't forget, drill down on your chart later on, you can see that there's a minor high low. So as soon as we popped up, pulled back, built that high low, and then go. So that high low is the key. Again, like I said, it's the key to our trading. It happens on major time frames, small time frames, everything. Okay, so we look for that because it's nice little evidence of buyers stepping in and starting to win the battle. And then you got that in conjunction with this being a major high low. There's a few ducks lining up there, and that obviously, we know it's in hindsight, led to a nice strong move up. So if you're trading it in there, you'd expect you're at least going to attack that resistance level. And if you pop through, great. We're at the start of a nice strong leg up potentially, which is what played out in hindsight. But even if it popped up there, you know where you got your risk, you know where you're going to enter. You might be up in the trade, and if it doesn't work out and you're just not going to get through there, you start making that little minor lower high, then you just get out. You can take a little profit off the table, or maybe a break-even trade, but you're not risking too much. But putting in that context, that structure into context is just, that's the way we do it, I guess, and that's what we like to look for all the time. So is that any questions there, guys, just before we go on to the bigger picture, what we're seeing just at the moment? So what I was just discussing there is really just trying to put the picture together and what you're looking for, and that's more psychology than any, the MAs are crossed up, buy, they cross down, sell, all these sorts of things. These stochastics, how people use MA crossovers and things like that. Can be good in context, but I think it's not. You're not looking at the crux of what's actually happening, and you're looking at when buyers, because they can chop you in when you get MAs crossing. You're going to get, maybe you get a couple of good trades and you say, look how good I am, but then you get a consolidation market or range bound, you're going to get chopped to pieces. And if you can't realise that, you're never going to get anywhere. Jeez, I get on my high horse sometimes, guys, but anyway. So no questions. What we'll do now, just clear that up a bit. What we're seeing, so we've got this trend higher, so we've got a major level potentially down here. But the thing is, and why, just remembering what we said, lower highs, higher lows, all that sort of thing. Rinse and repeat, yeah. That's the whole point, Nathan, isn't it? You just try to drill down on what works for you, drill down on what you're looking for, and just get better at it. And once you get better at it, you're cutting out other stuff. I mean, I've gone along for the last few years and just think, why did I look at that? Something clicks in your head, the penny drops, and you go, why was I ever looking at that wrong before? Because it makes so much sense now. So I think consistency in this game is really the key to anything, I guess. The key to trading and the key to, I guess, profitability. It's a tough word for me to say. So what we're seeing is that market heading higher. Now, what we're going to take note of, and everyone knows what a double top is, obviously. It's actually it's a very strong, a double top is a strong selling sign. It doesn't mean that everything's going to happen, that the market's going to, as soon as you see a double top, get out and you bail and it rolls over. You've got to put it into context of what's actually happening. So what we've got up here is a double top, and the reason why we qualified as more of a double top, you've got that leg up. The leg up, we've contracted off that leg up because a little minor level was just in here, so it was 49. We broke down below that level. We produced our lower high just in here. And then we started working our way down. So when you get that, that's good contraction of that overall leg up. So really, if you're buying it in here, this should have led to a new leg higher. All right. What we got is that reaction. Okay, we're still holding that trend higher. It's pushed way back up. We've got a little minor double top in conjunction with a major double top. So, okay, that's starting to look a bit negative at the moment to me. And then we washed out, if you can see, we've pulled back, retested 52.50, and then we've just washed out with a little minor lower high. So it's that same type of price action playing out again on a smaller scale. You've got a major level just through here. So we're at the point now, to me, just putting that together in context of what's happening, things are not looking good. So if you can't get through here and you're starting to struggle, and we've had to pull back, potentially going to try to have another go, potentially like we did just there, and not getting up and through, okay, sellers are starting to stack up, I think. It's starting to look to me like sellers are stacking up here. And if you're a buyer, if you're in here, starting to probably get a bit nervous, I'd start to be tightening my stops up, and then just sort of seeing how it plays out, because at the moment we don't know who's right and wrong. We don't know who's going to win the fight, bulls or bears. But it's starting to look like the bears are starting to take control. The sellers are starting to take it, whether you've bought it in here, bought it in here, bought it in here. You're probably getting a bit nervous. You don't want to see all that profit wasted with a big breakdown here and then spend the next 6 months just waiting for it to come back and go back into profit. Ideally, you'd want to book something and then reassess it as you go. But what we can see, sort of the final piece to the puzzle, is this move up, and this has just created a lower high. So we've got a little shoulder, we call it, or a lower high in here. So generally, we've spoken about this time and time again. You can see it on the charts. A double top, followed by a lower high generally is going to lead to lower prices. And when you put that into context, you're looking at that 49.50, 48.50 zone, which sort of coincides with that rising support zone there. It's not looking too good. To me, it's looking like this could easily take it. And if we start breaking below here, if I was long, I'd be out. I'd have my stop tucked in nicely under there, because I think a double top with a lower high, a shoulder, for any selling, you'd be working off that shoulder. Even if you're going for a short, you're not even long, you're going pure and simply for a short position. You've got, even if you go through here, you got sell on stop through here, you got your wrist just above that little minor lower high. Could get washed out and it bounces back. Okay, that's trading, but in context of what we're seeing, it could be a bit weak. Now, you could be targeting down here, which is still a great little trade, 3 or 4 to 1 on a short side. That's awesome. But if you're understanding where I'm coming from, you could put that together. These sort of signs that we said, that contraction off, that should have led to a new major leg higher on the daily basis. It didn't. It pulled up short right at that resistance. Okay, it's pulled back, held that trend up. It's had another go at it and just starting to fail. So this shoulder is like the last piece for me, piece of the puzzle where we could be rolling over. Does that make sense, guys? You're back. We're going to have to call you Sky. It's a bit easy to say. Release news again. The stock saying it's not an outperform stock. We'll have a look. So does that make sense? The one we're looking at, Paul, is ASX. All right. I just want to quickly go over. So this one, I guess in a roundabout way, I wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't want to buy it just yet. I'd want to see something. If I saw that wash out and started to hold a high low, a bit of a washout like that, pop back up, hold a high low, I might be thinking twice about buying it. Or if I'm short, I'll be thinking twice about staying in or getting out. But right here, to me, there's a few things lining up for potential sell. All right, any questions there? Am I making sense? Do you believe me? And you can see, I guess, what I didn't mention is that the MAs are rolling over. So the 20 MA is below the 50 MA, which means that things are, they're not looking good. So when they cross, and then you get that, this is a perfect little example. The market's pushed down, it's popped back up, built that lower high, the MA's across, so selling you'd expect just to come in. If you don't understand, Dave, we've got a problem. All right, let's just get on to, it was something else we've mentioned in alerts, and it is collapsed today. FMG, there's another great example of so the MA is across here. If we just draw that up, let's just draw it up. Again, it's along the same lines. You've got with the same type of price patterns over and over and over again. Not always. I mean, wouldn't say things happen like that 100% of the time, but it's a really good, I guess you'd want to say a high potential trade. I know you like that word, Dav. A high potential trade where we've got this type of setup we're looking for. We know, okay, a lower high generally, especially on a major lower high, it leads to selling. It leads to either it's the beginning of a correction where we have to hold and start to hold the high lows as we flush out some buyers, put them back on the sidelines, get them back in for another move higher, or whether we're just going to topple over completely. But FMG is something we alerted to not long ago, actually, and you can see, if you sort of line up those lows, we're right back down there now. So this doesn't particularly mean that, with just this price action, this gap down today, this trend up could still hold, but the pressure's going to be on. I think it's got to do a fair bit of work just down here to start holding up. We might get a little push back up, and then because people will be looking at this, knowing, okay, the trend's holding again, and they're buying back into it, and then it makes another lower high, bang, it rolls over and washes them all out. But you can see that trend. We'll just walk through it. So we've had that push up, pull back, major high low here, which led to another leg up, took out the highs, not by much. And if you look at this I think, sorry, on a weekly basis, just look at where we are. Big washout here. We washed out that $7 mark again on the weekly. So that's coming into on the weekly basis to a major resistance. We washed it out there. That led to some lower highs and a big sell-off. We popped back up. We've washed it out. Led to some. It's only minor little lower highs now, so we might get this type of price action. So at this stage, I think we're about here. Pop down, push back up, holding some lower highs, and then it could lead to just a big sell-off. But we'll have to see, because that's a major leg up, don't forget, from 2016 all through that year. Bang, straight up. Really didn't abate. So we're probably at the early stages now. We don't know what's going to happen, but just going through what we see, it's not looking pretty. I think there's going to be a fair bit of work to do just at the moment. We'll have to see. But again, that price structure that we mentioned, remember that $7 a key weekly resistance level. It's struggled up here. We pulled back. We built that lower high. We pulled back, just starting to struggle. Buyers are trying to step in, but it's at the end of a major trend. So you've got to be, I guess, one thing just to remember, when you're seeing something that's going up for a long time, you're not the only person that's seen it. Everyone's seen it. Everyone can see the market's is in an uptrend. So it's blatantly obvious. Now you just got to talk, speak to yourself and sit down and say, am I potentially buying towards the end of that trend? What am I doing? If I'm seeing it going up and it's been quite strong, so we're not in the unknown, which we've mentioned before. We're in the known. It's completely known by everyone that could look at a chart. Even a little kid can look at it and go, which way is that going? Straight up. So if they can say that, anyone else can. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you can see that, you're just trying to assess it. If I do believe that I'm getting in towards the end of a trend, I really should be holding a tight stop. Otherwise, I could be sitting on this for a long time, and we don't know what's going to happen. As soon as it breaks down, say we get that little breakdown below here, and we trade down to $5, that's clearly that this major uptrend is potentially going to go into contraction, and who's to know for how long? And you honestly just don't want to sit there holding a share for a long time, just waiting. I mean, you could be right, but you might be right in 6 months. You might be right in 2 years. You don't know. And you can make, like I said before, you can make much better use of your money. Is that making sense, what we're saying there, guys? Anyway, what I'm saying, long story short, is that type of price structure, that shoulder trade. We pushed up, washed out, key level, $7, rolled over, made a lower high. Okay, selling starting to come in, then we've broken through a key level at 580. But we've come just down here, so it'll be interesting to see whether we pull back and we start to contract a bit, hold, and then go, or the opposite, contract, and then bang, straight back down. And that will take us, I guess, through that sort of support zone. It may take a few days to play out. Support could be high, it could be 560 to 580, and then roll over from there. But we'll just see. If that's the case, we may get a major lower high, and then if I was long, I'd be bailing. But we'll see. All right. No questions. Just the other one I'll quickly look at. Telstra we've mentioned in an alert as well. There was potential up until yesterday when it got absolutely polaxed. So I don't know the news, and Devon was mentioning it. Yeah, 580 for FMG. So just keep an eye on 580 on FMG anyway. She's just up here. We could just retest it and then bang, off she goes. If we retest it and struggle, yeah, be concerned. We might have to go back to the weekly chart on Telstra, but you can see there's nothing. Again, someone should be able to look at this and go, what's happening on that chart? Okay, it's going down. It's pretty obvious. Lower highs, pushing down. You get to be extended on the downside. You have to contract. Those aggressive buys jump in, looking intraday, maybe looking for a short-term profit, jump in and pushes up. They get out, it rolls over again, longer term. But you can see that's, again, we've got that. This lower high led to an extended move down, and we started to hold up around 520, 510, push back up. But this type of price action is really not, and you've got the MAs rolling down as well, if you can see that. I know you probably can't, but let's just see if we can get more data. Well, a little bit more data. All right, you can all see that. MAs, I wonder how you change colour. Anyway. Yeah, it doesn't give you the option, which is unfortunate, to change the colour on this. Market's pushed down. You can see the little minor lower highs, lower lows. It's tried to go again. That's a major lower high. in comparison to say 660 up here, and that's led to a good sell-off. That contraction higher, it's tried again, just wash out those lows here, and then it's had to go a bit deeper, and you can see after this, but that leg up and starting to fall short just after getting through that high. To me, that's not conducive of some conviction in the buyers. It's more, the sellers are just waiting. They're just ready to go and hit it again. And you got that little pop up through this high with this move, pull back, higher low, pushed up through the high, and then just fell away. So that overall move, you got to remember, take that into context. It's contracted high, and we've got that. You can see just severe selling. As soon as we got through this low and we built this little minor lower high, MAs are starting to spread away again, which is not a great sign for sellers. Well, good sign for sellers, but not a great sign for bellows. Started popping out, contraction back in, and then we just got that acceleration, and really just this week, acceleration to the downside. So where to from here? We don't, it's hard to say. There's no real zone we're coming to, potentially, just through here, but yeah, it'd be interesting. We had that push up rolling over, so maybe we're going to build a major higher low in here. We don't know. This is a monthly chart, by the way. Yeah, and like Dave said, most of these price bars through here is below these MAs as they're starting to spread. That's not a good sign either, because once you start getting them kicking up like that, and you can see the MAs and they're holding, we don't know if that's going to be a high low just at this point. The MAs they're starting to come together. Then you start holding a high low. That's not a bad sign, but when you get them below the MAs, that's your 20 down here, and then your 50, it's not a good sign. It might be a bit clearer. So these all below the 20. It's touched on the 20, moved back down, touched on the 20, still below, and it's just headed south again. When you start getting that push back down, not a good sign. So you can see what we're saying with the lower highs, high lows, and so on. Yeah, TPG discounted the mobile market. That's it. I remember now. So that's really putting pressure on Telstra. No longer the big dog in the market. Well, they probably haven't been for a while, but even less of a big dog, more like a bit of a midget. A puppy. All right, so that's the three ones we want to just chat about. Let's quickly... Is there anything you want to go over? We've got... we'll have a quick look at Is it AHY? AHY? Yeah, your key level's sort of around that 160 at the moment. That's your daily. Wouldn't mind seeing a bit of... You can see a major level here. It's had that spike up, pull back, consolidate, a bit of a washout through here at 158. And that's led to another retest of these highs. Pop through the highs, led to a major sell-off. Okay, if we go back to what we said, let's just draw it up. Well, again, I don't like that, do I? So for me, there's just a few little things. Market's an uptrend, holding high lows. Your key level is just through here with that washout. So whether we're contracting back to it, you want to see it hold up here. So really, that major move down, which is that red candle, and don't forget that's a triple top pretty much, with a minor washout, I guess, which led to that big candle down a couple of days ago. What we'd have to see here, I'd want to see a bit more contraction with some higher lows starting to hold and leading this back up again. That way, for an entry, I'd like to be adding it. If you're going to add, like you said, add in here. But I want to see this type of price action now, just to see more evidence of buyers stepping in. That's going to be a major high low, and potentially that could take us up and through that resistance zone. But the same token, this could just as easily contract back up, and from here, bang, straight back down again, straight through that 158, back into this zone. Does that make sense? So there's a few things, little things just to look at, but overall, that's not looking too bad. And don't forget, just taking into context how long it's spent through here. So there's a lot of buying stepping up there, holding a high low in here. So that potentially could just be more buying, starting to press up and through $1.80, but we'll see. All right. Anything else just want to have a quick look at, guys? I think that was it, wasn't it? Is there a stock? You got anything there, Paul, before we start to look at calling it quits? I can get onto my fourth coffee or my first beer, maybe. Ooh. Let's just see where the market is at the moment. MVF is one we followed this story, as you probably all know, for a while. This daily, although it's popped up, it's starting to edge its way lower. That, to me, could be starting to hold this high low in here around 5. It's just come out the last few days, some really nice news. Stochastics, it's been sold quite heavily when you look at the stochastics into oversold, but it's holding that high low potentially. So that selling is getting soaked up here. So we'd like to see it push up and through 530, and I think this is a way. We'll see how that goes, but they're doing pretty much their kicking goals, I guess you could call it, with what they've released. Any of their news flows being quite good, well, being really good. Their major, was it Penthrox, which is a major one? It was a major, I guess, what we were waiting for. It's getting released around Europe and all that's doing great, which is the reason why it's pushed up. Contraction lower when they were waiting for that US FDA. Now US FDA approval, it's on track, but it's a bit slow. That's all. A bit slow. It's probably a longer process than what we expected, but that news came out quite a while ago. Still holding that high low, but they've come out with some other really good news the last couple of days. So just read up on it if you want to check out that. But it looks all right. All right, ALU, CCP. Let's give it a go. Not bad. That it's probably clear on a weekly. You can go to a daily. Let's just quickly do it. I just want to try and get through these. Coming early, selling May and go away. Sell it east and don't come back till later. Yeah, it could be a bit of profit taking. There's a few things lining up, so we'll see. This one here doesn't look too bad. You've got obviously the trend holding higher. It's contracting lower, so for me, really just trying to see what's happening here. You want to... That looks... Well, that's not very good. That's probably the thing that looks good. We've got that little curve up, but it could just be running to resistance, get sold down again. All right, so, and we're in that zone here. You can see the stochastics are starting to get a bit overbought. So it means sellers are still roughly in control. Buyers are stepping in. You're getting a lower lower just in here, back down to that sort of support zone, I guess. And then we started holding a lower high here, but it's still in context to this major contraction that we're seeing. So really we want to see if that's the move down. I would like to see, we've just got that little move, which is here, not drawn up as nice, and we're currently here. I'd like to see probably a little lower high in here, hold somewhere around 750, say, higher low, and then I want to see that pop out, and then I think we'd probably get a bit of contraction, and then I'd want to be searching for that entry. Does that make sense? So that it's showing some good signs, but of course, if it goes bang straight through this lower level, potentially through $7, I'd be obviously steering clear of it anyway, because that leg up. So we want to see signs. Really, there's got to be heat coming out of that market because it's had that really strong run up. You can see, and that's that lower high again, leading to more selling. But it's really just coming back to the overall trend, the longer term trend. It's been a lot of time coming back. But really it's going to come to a point where you'd expect some action soon. So one to keep an eye on for sure. What was the other one? CCP. Let's take a quick look. Now that Credit Corp. Who popped that up? Okay, looking good. Now that looks... Go back to the weekly. I mean, once you see... Straight away you can see that that's starting to look, so show some good signs. Okay, so the first thing you'd want to do is just check back to see what's happening on a weekly. If it's, on a weekly it's still looking quite good. So you can see these, this has led these high lows holding, hopefully similar structure playing out. Here is what played out here, and then we get that acceleration high, taking it through this key level at 1850. So we know that 1850 is going to provide a bit of resistance. If we get a couple of good days and bang, smash straight through that, then we might consolidate for a while at highs, at high highs, and then go again and produce another leg up like we've got here. And that's what we're looking for. So we're trying to put ourselves, like I said before, the aim always is put yourself in that area where you're in the unknown. Okay, sometimes it takes a bit of conviction and confidence, I guess, but this is the way when you can see a setup that gives you minimal risk to have a go at something that's potentially a great payout. That's what we want to do. And when you're getting into those areas, of course, it's going to be into the unknown because not everyone is trading a similar type of style. And we're looking for a setup that's got a high potential of playing out in our favour. And we just want to put the odds in our favour. Obviously, sometimes it's not going to work out, so be it. But we're just trying to do the same thing over and over and over again. Now, of course, I got myself sidetracked. But in essence, this is where we could be at that stage here. And it is in the unknown. We don't know if that's going to contract further. We're going to roll over from here or whether this is going to kick up. Now, I would say, and why I like it, is pretty much this last little bit here. Let's just forget that. I just want to draw it a bit closer. So we know this is going to uptrend. We're contracting from down here. I just want to get it a bit closer so you can see a few other things. There could be a few things lining up. That's a great one, Kay, actually. Yeah, and that's another thing, like Davin just pointed out, when you get things that are, down day, what are we down, still 50 or so? On a fairly good down day in this market, done it again. This is holding up. It's a good sign. Now, there's quite a few things here leading me to believe it's quite good. Actually, it's a cracker. I don't lie to you, I like it. That's a cracker, Kay. Well done. This is an ideal setup. I like it. You've got even the stochastics, that little selling that's come in. It's come to a good sort of zone. It's starting to curl up again. With this pop up, we know that the price was contracting down. It was holding that $16. We popped up and through, potentially out of contraction through a good little level. What's that, 17.25? You see that pop up here. We've contracted back in. We're starting to hold, rejection. So really, if we get up and through, I think 17.50, I think this thing is going to just kick on. And then we're going to come up against that 18.50 zone. But by then, you might have a 1 to 1.5 to 1 risk reward, which is always good. You put something up your sleeve at the very least. And if we roll over from there, okay, you can just assess it. Take it out at a break-even trade or potentially a small gain. But the thing is, we're at that zone, just remembering what the weekly's saying, we could be at that zone where this is another weekly trend up, which means that you'd expect it to attack 20 and further. Okay, so there could be a lot of potential in this one. In CCP, it's looking great, and I think that's a nice little entry setup. It looks good. But we'll see how it goes. Keep an eye on that one anyway. And if you do have a go at it, just let us know how you go. Okay, it's good. I might actually put this as an alert. Thank you very much. All right. Last one we'll just take a look at. MSN. Oh, weekly's nothing. Yeah, so you got this extended leg up. Got out of hand up to 40 cents. Contraction back lower. So that's enough. That's a good little move back or pull back to bring in some more buys and wash out a few of these longs. So really you'd want to see, this is the only problem here, it's starting to got these little lower highs. We want to see from here, hold a high low. If it can hold a high low and start to pop up, say through that 27.5 move, I think it could be on. Great work, Kay. Good work. It looks good. I will just see how it goes. So that 27's provided support. This could easily be a lower high, a major lower high, and we go through 20. But so for me, with that contraction there, I want to see some high lows hold. Okay, I'll just quickly draw that. Only because I like drawing. So we got, forget that. Level through 20. We're going to pop up through here. The market's contracting lower. But we want to see, and that's probably our key, well, not a key level, but it's only a minor level, 23. Let's not kid ourselves. So we've got the markets pushed down to support. Okay, it's banged around there for a bit. It's pushed up. But then what we're starting to get is lower highs, which generally, like I said, lead to lows. But in context of what's happening, the key level's down at 20, so it could just be contracting back. What we ideally want to see is some higher lows holding on a minor scale. Okay, and then potentially that could lead to a move up. All right, so if we can get some higher lows, that's an early warning sign that we're starting to come out of contraction, which means this is going to be a high low compared to 20, and then that should lead to buyers stepping in, which should lead to higher prices and so on. All right, but it looks all right. Yeah, potentially is a bit of a shakeout there. We'll have to see. I mean, this thing it could just as easily collapse. So if you get through here and just go bang, we don't know, but that's why let's not draw it there. Let's just say, all right, let's say it could be here. So if that's the case, and we're here and we just collapse through there, we could just, that could lead us to just bang straight down and through 20. So that's why I would like to ideally see those higher lows hold. And that's good evidence that buyers are stepping in. That's a major high low and so on, like I just mentioned before. I tend to repeat myself anyway. So we'll probably have to call it a day there, guys. Been Easter. I think we all want to get off to a nice early Easter. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been great. We'll be back on, obviously missing Monday. We'll be back on next Thursday. All right, so be ready and raring just after Easter. We'll be back then. Talking about the markets again, hopefully we'll see how this plays out. So we're only down 45 at the moment, made back 5 points, which is nice. But yeah, we'll see what happens over the next few days. But have a great Easter. Have a great Easter, Paul. Hope you enjoy it. Sky, have a great Easter. Kay, whoever else was in there. Let's scroll back. And John. Anyone else listen? Enjoy yourself and be safe. You too, Nathan, over the long weekend, and we'll see you back here next week. Cheers, guys. Bye.